mainly about my departure, which you probably know about, but also about going forward for next year and different things that matter, sophomore year. As you know, I'm Scott Butchart, the Dean of Students, for another month. I'll allude a little later to what my actual plans are, because that will enlighten you a bit about how your kids' lives here might change, or not change. And I want to start with the dry little topic, which, in the blurb from the PTO reps, it talked about summer plans. Well, of course, most kids have summer plans, and most parents have, conceived these plans long, long ago. But so my point really is going to be talking about the Brookline High School summer school options, and to promote certain things about it and disabuse you of any sort of fallacies that might be in your head about what the summer school offers. So I'll start there, and then we'll sort of gradually go along, be done by 8 for sure, and talk a little bit at the end about some sort of the qualitative aspects of 10th grade. Many of you had older kids, so if you've been down this road already, okay, your next kid's experience might be the same or might be different, but there's some, from my point of view, there's some special characteristics to grade 10, which I want to sort of discuss with you a little bit. But for the summer school itself, here are the sort of dry bones of it. The Brookline High webpage has the link to the summer school program. It's several pages long and all kinds of papers to fill out and stuff. But the most important things to know are that there are two driving things in the summer school. One is called original credit, where a child may, during a 4-hour-long slot of time every day for 5 weeks, achieve original credit, full credit, 1.0 Brookline High School credit, okay, in some limited offerings. And the other driving part of it is makeup classes, in case the few of you who might have a child who hasn't been totally successful might have received a letter from me in the last couple of weeks. I'll just reprise that briefly. As I say, if the Dean's team, myself and the guidance counselors and the associate deans had any worries about your child achieving credit for all his or her classes this year, you should have received a little warning thing, which should have sounded like a warning, not a not a death sentence, but a warning about the idea that, buck up quarter 4 and things will be great, but if that doesn't quite work out, here's what we recommend. And so chances are there aren't many people here whose kids are in that situation, and that's wonderful. Good work. Okay? If there's a few kids who, for reasons that are very different from child to child, might have encountered some issues, and we were eyeballing this a little bit, so a couple of failing grades over a couple of quarters indicated to us the potential for failure at the end of on June 26th. We attempt to send a further letter once we have a little more data, because Tuesday is progress report day, in case you want to converse about this on Tuesday night at dinner, and you'll get some more readings on how the kids are doing. If suddenly someone who's in danger of failing suddenly is perking out, then I would say take my letter and throw it away. If on the other hand it sounds still a little like maybe not, then I would suggest that you really think hard about doing the simple, easy, only 5 weeks, relatively modestly priced, Brookline High School summer school makeup class. Not everything is offered, but certainly the main academic classes are offered as a makeup thing. And the makeup things are 2 hours. And so if, God forbid, somebody were to have failed 2 classes, they could make them both up during 4 hours of summer school runs, the days during the summer. And so that's what we would be recommending. There's all kinds of reasons why people don't do that. And I would suggest that you talk with the guidance counselor in particular. If you get one of our letters, things don't work out, and there's a credit missing, and clearly it should be recouped at some point. If it can't be done during the summer school, then we want to craft a plan for going forward. Monday, July 2 through Friday, August 4 or 5. Take the 4th off. Questions on just that part of it? Because I bet there aren't many of the recipients of my letter sitting in front of me right now. And that's a good thing. So great. Kids are going to get all their credits. Happy to see it. Okay? That of course is, most all kids works out fine. I want to go on to the original credit piece, and I want to transmit to you, as well as I can, some thinking about the upside and downside of trying to earn original credit in the summer school. Same dates, but this time it's a 4-hour-long experience each of those days. So it's clearly only 5 weeks times 4 hours equals whatever that equals. And so that's seems like a very efficient way to earn a credit. So here are the caveats about that. It would seem clear that in courses with accumulating is the wrong word here. Sequential needs for building on previous knowledge to be successful in grade 10. Math is obvious about this. If you didn't really nail down grade 9 math, no, let me say that differently. If you want to go forward and you want to accelerate in math, which people do sometimes, okay, and sometimes that's to be sure you get to calculus at the end, okay, at the end of high school, then some people think I should accelerate and take some effectively grade 10 original credit math class during the summer and go on to what would be the next course the following year. Mr. Paris is not here. He'd be saying things like he's not convinced that the summer school experience, well-intentioned as it is sufficiently in-depth and solid enough to ensure success in the next course. So that would be a reason where you might think that looks like a great idea, but where the department head would have hesitation, okay? That's a really clear 9th to 10th grade math scenario. You might have questions about that. That applies also to science, but in a different way. We all conceive of biology, physics, and chemistry being quite different and not being so sequential, which is the word I was looking for, okay? Unlike math. And so it may be that you'd like to polish off, that there's chemistry for sure in the summer, and there's biology for sure in the summer, and physics I believe as well, original credit. You might think it'd be great to polish off one of those classes in the summer and go forward. Mr. Weiser, if he were here, would be saying things like, that won't build a deep enough base for a child who wants to take AP, whatever science, in grade 12. And that makes sense to me. He would say, far better educationally and sort of personally for the child to go off and do some great science experience in some other vehicle than the Brookline High School thing. Go study rocket science, go study curing cancer, go do something your child's passionate about, but different from our sort of set curriculum. So there are a couple of reasons why you may not choose to do that, although you may choose to. And it earns credit, so no one's going to say you don't get the credit, as long as you pass the course. It's not too hard to pass. And I, of course, have been involved in summer school, so I am speaking from my own experience about this a little bit. The other upside, potentially, for a summer school original credit is that it may well, because it's taking care of something that you'd be required to do later, the following year, might offer more flexibility for scheduling, in quotes, more free time perhaps, for a child who doesn't want the unremitting class thing. Okay, and we see that for some kids as a positive. We don't want, for as a high school, like, oh my God, I've never had a free moment of time. You can have high school be a little fun and still go to great colleges, as I certainly know my kids experience. And so that's a reason why some people choose to have the original credit experience here in the summer. There's some things that aren't offered. Foreign languages, only Spanish in the summer. There are a lot of there is an increasing number of electives available in the summer, which you could interpret as like, oh, I'll get an elective thing off my plate. I'll go do cooking in the summer. Sounds hot to me, and it is hot, but so be it. Cooking, there's a bunch of hands-on, fun electives available in the summer that do indeed count toward the elective requirements. There's Not health and fitness, that's a 9th grade thing. There's lifetime activities, which is a grades 10, 11, and 12 thing. And so you cannot make up failed health and fitness in the summer school. That's a sort of small item to know about. If your young person is just like on the edge there, far better to get this done because he or she doesn't really want to be in 9th grade health and fitness next year as a sophomore. It's a little not comfortable. So I thought I would just close this and open it to questions with one cautionary note. If your child has ever accumulated any AWOLs, you theoretically have a vague grasp on that because the robocall should have come home, and you should have some sort of mental running tally of the number of AWOLs your child has. If that happened ever. Maybe not ever. But if it did, that's something to be really wary about at the end of the school year. Because as you know, if I go to the very last day and work back, especially if you're new to this, the very last day of school is Tuesday the 26th. Not every child comes to that. We have a little mini schedule. Not every child comes to that in true, what do you say? In true full disclosure. Okay? The previous day, the Monday, is make-up day. If your kid got to all his exams, his or hers, got it all squared away, they don't have to come at all on the Monday the 25th, 24, 23. The exams for their major classes are the Thursday and Friday, whatever those numbers are, Thursday and Friday. Even then, foreign language is done way ahead of time. Some math things are done way ahead of time. The physics final is given in conjunction with the MCAS. So they may have very few exam obligations. So it creates a little feeling like, oh, school's sort of over-ish. And if on the last class day before exams start, your child doesn't happen to turn up, and it becomes AWOL 6, AWOL number 6, that's where the attendance policy and the computer apply an N on top of your child's A. So the A is obscured by an N for no credit for attendance reasons. And nothing breaks our heart more than to see an N there for the, accrued in the last couple of days when we all were trying to relax just a little bit and somebody got a little too relaxed. So I just ask that you discuss with your kids, keep it up, you're almost done, right? The Monday and Tuesday are very low stress days here. Go to the beach on Monday unless you have a makeup exam, do whatever, but go to those last classes, okay? I see some nodding, that's great. Yeah? Let me field questions about summer school to the extent I'm able to. Oh, and I was going to make a little joke. When I was sitting here waiting for you, and you were all down there, I thought, odd that no one be coming to the last meeting. I'm going like, what's that about? It's like, I didn't get an answer, but I'm glad to have found you. And so questions on summer school. You can read the catalog, it's self-explanatory, it's a bit dense, but I'm going to go on the presumption that something will come to you, you can ask me later. One summer school piece that's important, the attendance in summer school, there's a policy, of course. It's not exactly prorated down from our policy, our normal policy, but it does say that you will not receive summer school credit if you're absent for any reason more than 3 days. So you need to plan the goings and comings of your family a little bit if you're going to do a summer school thing, because it's, we hate to see kids like making up time in some mindless kind of way because they get to a 4th absence. Nor do I want them to do badly, because the grades do count for, summer school grades here do count in the GPA. And while you're still mulling over questions about summer school, let me say one thing about GPA for you. Because I'm going to go forward, barring any questions, about 10th grade in the broad sense. Let me remind you that the GPA that exists when your kids are going to graduate from high school are not at all based on any numbers from grade 9. Only from grades 10 and 11. Well, why is that? Well, we feel philosophically that grade 9 represents a lot of transition challenges for kids. That's why we don't count it. It shows up as a whole quartile of their transcript when sent to college, and the grades, of course. And because you're smart people and you've all been to school, the only grades on the transcript are not the quarter grades, rather just the final year grade. So it'll say all the courses this year and the grades, okay? The transcript doesn't show attendance, although there are people who think it should, but I don't, okay? What was I just cautioning you about? I was just trying to caution you about something there.
Annual grade.
Yeah, the GPA point, thank you. Our GPA, especially if you have older kids, you've heard us say a million times, our GPA may not be totally representative of your kids' work in the minds of some colleges, because they say, you didn't count elective, you didn't count PE, for example, or you did count PE, or you didn't, no, that's backwards. We don't count PE, we do count electives. A lot of colleges think that's backwards, and they also think we should have counted grade 9. So most colleges, when your kids are 17 and applying to college, see our GPA, say thank you, and like totally recalculate, rejigger the whole thing according to their wisdom. So my caution for you, one of my last emeritus of the future things to say is don't get hung up on GPAs, okay? They just don't mean what they seem to mean to us as adults who've been through this mill. They really, it's just a grade 10, grade 11 is all it is, totally rethought of by colleges down the line somewhere. Question on that? I'm being so clear. Question, or summer school, yeah.
Kind of neither, but based on what you just said, I just want to make sure I really have clarity. If we have kids starting a summer program the 25th,
Yes.
I want to make sure I heard you correctly that the 25th and 26th are no.
No attendance taken.
Got it.
That's it. No attendance taken the 25th and 26th. No attendance taken after the last day of class. So the exam period's better be your exam. That's the end of attendance day.
Is there a day that's the last day of the class?
Yeah, if I can think back again. Tuesday's the last day of school, Monday's the makeup day, Friday and Thursday are the exam days, so that preceding Wednesday, 20-something or other, is the last day of class. Yeah? I'm not usually this clear. Usually it's like, what do you mean by blah, 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 blah? Yes?
I'm a little unclear. Like, my daughter was telling me that her physics final was sort of in 2 weeks, and so a couple things. One is that she thinks her math final might be soon. How do they kind of figure this out, number one? Number two is, what do they do after the finals so they're not like totally, you know?
Good. And so I will know sort of anecdotally about this because I'm not totally familiar with each and every class thing. And so they believe the physics final should be lined up with the MCAS. And when that's over, they think testing is like, that's not testing. Let's go on to some cool project-based stuff. Yes. You had a second question though too. Math. The math thing is in motion. I believe that Mr. Paris and his department feel the math finals could migrate forward in time as well. I don't know if that applies to any freshmen because I don't remember exactly the email word to word. So if you have doubts about this and your child can't quite get it straight, email the teacher and say, when's the final exactly? And he or she will let you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
And you said foreign language are also sooner?
The four-part aspect of the foreign language exams where they test all this, because I was a foreign language guy, so I know this at least, where they test speaking, listening, writing, and reading, divides into several days, and so they push it up into the 2 weeks preceding the normal exam period. Yeah? Clarity? Look at that. Yeah?
Just one more thing on it.
Yeah, please.
So I know you said the 6A won't. Can you remind us what the other
Yeah. I'm happy.
absentee stuff?
I'm happy to. So the policy that we tortured ourselves over 5 or so years ago came out as this dense, not impermeable, but dense thing. I alluded to, if you get to 6 AWOLs, the computer applies an N. Unless the dean, in his or her wisdom, appeals to the headmaster. And I try to say that as not an afterthought, but as a like, comma, let's not get there. The other aspect of this is total absences, which are excused and unexcused added together, okay? Do not get to 22, the computer applies an N there as well. Should I repeat that?
Yeah.
If you get to 6 AWOLs, N. 22 total absences, N. There are obviously extenuating circumstances at times. Kids who are hospitalized or, family vacation, not vacation, family obligations is the right word. People going into Africa for marriages. Would we want them not to do that? We wouldn't want them not to do that. It's Brookline High School after all. We want people to do what they need to do. So we work with those extenuating circumstances once we really understand in depth what's going on. That's the hardest part. You know, if you as parents are really good communicators, and especially the guidance counselor, or myself, or the associate dean, whoever, knows in a sort of full way, my child will be absent for the 2 weeks of blah, 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 for X really good reason, and we don't believe we can avoid it. Then the administrator counts up how many missing classes that'll be, because it's only 4 per week. They don't meet 5 times a week. So it's not quite as dire as it sounds to miss 2 weeks. They miss 8 classes. 8 toward the 22, but that's a fairly small, it's like a third, or some fraction like that. So that doesn't usually become a huge problem. But my advice to you, since this is my last time to give advice and I can be really direct, is like, too direct? No. It's like, communicate to death. Communicate, because it's not until the administrator in particular knows what's going on that he or she can say, fine, this is gonna be fine, and here's why it's gonna be fine. Otherwise, we're shooting in the dark, because it becomes a little, if it's just a little truncated, like, we'll be away for the following 3 weeks, it's like, whoa, what are you talking about, we'll be away? You know, and then we don't know anything, and so we can't work with that. We can't mitigate the effect of that. There's wisdom for the ages, or for the next 3 years at least. I'm going to go, oh, good, questions. Then I'm going to go back to summer school because they're cogitating about this, I bet.
How do I know how many people my son has a kindergarten?
Very good question. The parent portal shows that. If not, the portal's a little mysterious even to us. If not, you know, I don't expect that any parents, you know, make tick marks for each robocall that comes home. I don't expect that happens over the course of 10 months. Nor do I expect 15-year-olds to remember, oh yeah, it's whatever. So the secretary, Ms. McIntosh, would be delighted to send you the record. The interpreting the record is like, what does A stand for? A stands for? AWOL, unexcused. AE stands for absent, excused. T stands for? Tardy. Yes, so it's the A's you're looking at. And although the policy calls for the parents to like be in contact with us within 3 school days of an absence to rectify it, you know, the robocall comes to you, you realize, oh, I didn't call. You're only supposed to have 3 days. As I say, it's still Brookline High School. There were extenuating circumstances at times where parents didn't get their act together, may I say? You say that right. And so let us know, and we work with that. We work with that really intensely. Cool. Yeah? Summer school, really? Fine. Okay, grade 10. Schedules won't be forthcoming anytime soon. Oh. We aim for sometime in May, never happens anywhere near May. Okay? There's a bit of managing the situation would be it, because if you, we want you to learn your child's schedule in a time frame where it doesn't create all kinds of angst and what am I going to do movement about this, because the school closes and everybody's gone and nothing can happen. So let me just give you that piece of advice. If the schedule is not exactly what you hoped for, there's a, what do we call this day? There's a day in the library. Thank you. A for, who knew that? Credit back there. Yeah, you should know. The arena day in the library, I'm not sure what the date is going to be. An arena day. An arena day, children are allowed to come and try to take care of the messes that they have in their schedule, from their perspective. It's a limited sort of event, because it's really not about, it's certainly not about changing teachers. I'm going to say that again. It's certainly not about changing teachers. First off, I've been here a long time. I believe that even if all 5 aren't perfect, they're really good teachers here. I want to say this again. Okay, my belief is that the hiring at this high school is so superior to other high schools that I know of, including the one my own kids go to, that your child, even if he or she is sure that's a crappy teacher, I've heard everything, okay, I'm sure I would agree with that. First off, your kids are all different, first off, right? And the oldest sibling saying blah, blah, blah at the dinner table may not be the same person as the younger kids in there. It's like, so I think that just as when, you know, the kids go to college and they complain about Professor X, it's like, they're not all going to be these fabulous people that like change, that are life changers. Some of the teachers do great work, a little not hitting the exact key with your particular child perfectly. Am I saying that okay? Right? So really we have to live with that. The bigger the school gets, the less and less latitude we have. You can imagine. We're graduating 450, 475, we're getting 575, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I do want to talk about the building project. Don't let me talk, don't forget that. A little bit I know. And so we don't support teacher changes. I don't, none of us does. None of us does. We know how you feel though. We know how you feel, we empathize, but can't do that. The Arena Day, and we try to have the neediest kids come earliest. Seniors probably have first dibs because their schedules, if they're missing a class, suddenly they're not graduating. So for you guys on the Arena Day, which may be the 25th, that makeup day, that may be it, if they're missing a class that they signed up for, you got the original list of requests in March. If the schedule comes to you and you'll see it in the portal, missing something they requested, then we have to try to resolve that. If they're missing, English, history, science, the biggies first. If they're missing electives, that may be because conflicts crept in, right? Because you're trying to jigger all these things together. If they're missing a second language that they hadn't been doing, it's because it doesn't fit. And the Arena Day is intended to try to resolve as many schedule issues as possible. Then, you'll be happy to know that there's usually a second Arena Day at the end of the summer when things that still haven't been resolved can be brought to our attention. This has a lot to do with your child going in and saying, blah, da, 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 to the right person and having that person cogitate about how do we solve this, if possible. So I'm getting some quizzical expressions about this. One quizzical expression, yeah?
I was just wondering, when should we know the schedule?
The very end of the school year. If I'm saying Arena Day number 1 is probably the 25th, probably just prior to that. Because Mr. Mason, who's in charge of this, the assistant headmaster, wants to have it as perfected as possible before it comes to you, which really is what we need to do. Yeah?
When my son last year showed up for the Arena Day at the end of the summer,
Yeah?
he got here, we were a little confused about how it's supposed to function, not having been here before.
Yes.
And then when he showed up, there was a sign on the door that you had to have a ticket or something.
This is a new invention here. We've only had this for a couple of years, and we're still tinkering. Whether there'll be a ticket thing, again, I don't know. I haven't been privy to the organization of this. But that's intended to have the child check in with a guidance counselor ahead of time to identify the problem and whether that kind of problem is something we can work on in the Arena Day forum.
So it is okay to contact a guidance counselor before Arena Day?
That's really, in many ways, preferable because the
Okay.
guidance counselor is the one who's going to be most informed about whatever your issues may be. It'll be he or she, not militating for your need, but being apprised of it and being able to turn the wheels. Yes.
But there may only be my guess is guidance counselors get a little bombarded if there's only 2 or 3 days before Arena, right?
Your children ideally should be able to either come before school or hang around after school, because it's true that guidance counselors are totally bombarded by a lot of requests that they can't possibly handle because they're so picayune and I don't have my art elective. It's chill out, we'll take care of you. Come back in September. Yeah. So you would know what are the highest priorities. Highest priorities are missing academic classes. That the guidance counselor wants to know about ASAP. Of course, an email to the guidance counselor would be easier. Then there's a written record, the guidance counselor can just go through all the records. My clarity is not usually anywhere near this. So, grade 10. So I don't think grade 10 is an easy grade. A couple of reasons, and I want you to think about this. Your kids won't have any ability to really think this through because they're only 15. And they're just let's get through grade 9. You want a successful grade 10. And you're expecting, most of you, I'm guessing, I did, rightly or wrongly, that grade 10 students would be demonstrating a measurable amount of greater maturity and together withenness, okay? You were in the wrong place, I'm sorry. Hi. My personal experience with 10th graders, this may be true of boys, but I shouldn't, who knows, okay, is that the maturity aspect is not there yet in a developmental kind of way, because it's only been 3 months, since however mature they are right now, so you can measure that, okay? And because I don't think the average 10th grader really has that college on the horizon thing kicking in at all yet. I think it's really not till grade 11 that any of us can be talking about, but college, and have it matter much. It's just too far away. So we see a huge difference between grades 10 and 11 in every developmental way. But what we see really often in grade 10 is a sort of continuation of the pattern the child has been demonstrating in grade 9. And I say that so you won't be too frustrated by like same old, same old. Now, every kid is different, of course. The line I like to use with kids, and it might or might not resonate with your folks, but is like, did your grades represent how, strong a student you can be? Did your grades in grade 9, did they represent fully who you want to be as a student? No. Or a lot do. But they know what I mean. They mean in some area in grade 9, for whatever reason, they might not have been hitting on all the cylinders in that particular class for whatever reason. And so they know in themselves, I probably could do better than that. So I think, if I'm giving advice to people, and tonight's my night to do it, try the tack of like, what do you want to show, not me, the parent, what do you want to show yourself in grade 10? Where do you want to progress? Where do you want to demonstrate that despite whatever happened in grade 9, you can demonstrate, because here is 1/2 of your GPA, okay? What do you want to demonstrate to yourself? Not so much to you guys as parents, really. When kids can internalize over the 4 years of high school that they're doing it for themselves, and then they can start to work a little harder, because it's not you berating them over dinner about did you do your homework. And most parents at this point are like saying, I can't surveil, I can't watch over this anymore. It just drives me crazy. I go in, he says get out, he hides what he's doing, I have no idea. My own 17-and-a-half-year-old's like the door is closed, you hardly dare stick your nose in the door. Okay? And they're not going to change much yet, because now they need to demonstrate their independence. Okay? But when it's a moment to have a serious conversation about school, they'll see soon their schedule. They'll know what they've got coming. They might have been great in physics. What is the next science class going to feel like? How much of a struggle did geometry seem? Well, algebra 2 is going to feel different. Remember algebra 1 in grade 8? I think these discussions about, the qualitative aspects of what your son or daughter wants to achieve and show to himself or herself or themselves is what is the real way to go. College is like, even if they've got siblings in college, I don't think you'd have get much gas out of that one. It would be great if any of the kids struggled attendance-wise in grade 9. It would be great to start out brand new, fresh start. Okay, how are you going to handle this better? The kids who are perennially late, why was that? How can you handle this better? How can you, the child, the nearly 16-year-old, going on 16, how are you going to handle yourself? Because we just see a lot of growth there. It's like, I used to be late all the time to A block, blah, 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 it's my mother's fault, or whatever. It's not your mother's fault, it's your fault. What are you talking about? Even if you have to remind your mother to get you up, it's you've got a part of this to do. So I think bouncing the ball into their court's a good thing to do at this age. I had one more brilliant thought that I was gonna, something jog my memory about. I'm not retiring because my memory's going. Something about myself in a moment, I think, that applies to this. Thoughts on grade 10? Any actual questions? I talked very generally. Yeah.
PSAT, do they take in grade 10 or grade 11?
We recommend. When do people take PSATs? So it's audible in the back. We recommend. Myself, the deans, the guidance counselors recommend not necessarily over-pressuring, over-emphasizing the testing thing, okay? We know that some parents and kids want that sort of dipstick by doing it in grade 10. We're not sure that represents a true data point that should alarm or buck up kids. Everybody does it in October of grade 11, okay? And I know plenty of private schools, I know plenty of high schools where they sort of insist on doing in grade 10 for this sort of get used to taking tests thinking. We don't support that necessarily because we feel too much stress on testing. There's already so much MCAS this, MCAS that, da 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 da. And the repeated SAT testing doesn't seem to be beneficial in the way some people would hope it would be. So that's the party line.
So for Brookline High is 11.
Yes. You know, there's some number, percentage, I can't guess the percentage of kids who do it to find out something in grade 10, but we don't really support it much. We still do it, of course. There was another question out there somewhere. Ma'am?
I'd love your take on 10th grade, your honest, transparent view of the world for kids who were diligent in 9th grade and did take it seriously.
Yep.
And, you know, is the workload a lot heavier in 10th grade? What can they expect?
I would say it's different. And that's why I talk about the difference between geometry and algebra, you know, biology and I forget what the chemistry. You know, those are very different things. You know, foreign language goes forward in a rational way. I don't think it gets harder. Grammar gets harder, yes, no doubt about that. Okay, you know, we've always said that. You know, my thing is French. French 3 is always like, oh, the excitement's off. Oh, grade 9 is fun. Grade subjunctive. I don't care about the subjunctive. You have to care about the subjunctive, and that's tough. And then it comes back up like that. English. You know, English. You know, you're right. You know, you get better and better. But I think that more work. No, harder. You know, different work. And so the young person who says, gee, this is not like geometry. Oh, it's not. And so what are you going to do about the initial struggles in Algebra 2 where it doesn't feel quite comfy to you like geometry did at the end? Like, go see that teacher. Here's what kids don't want to do. They do not want to sit down with the teacher face to face and say, I don't get it. They say, my friends will help me. Like, my dad won't. I never get anywhere helping my kids with any subject. Well, a little bit of French when they admitted they didn't know what the subject was. Okay? But it's different enough in grade 10 to present some problems of like, oh, chemistry, what is a mole? Small animal in the dirt, oh no. And so that's what I think. You know, grade 11 is probably just plain more. Grade 10 I don't think it's more, I think it's different. How does it feel? How did that class feel today? You know, how do you feel about the essay you're writing? Do you think it's good? Why do you think it's good? What do you think the teacher's going to think? I think they're ready for that sort of qualitative back and forth in those rare moments when they actually sit and talk to you. Because, you know, I think, like, well, no, I got, you know how many kids I have, right? And the youngest is 14, so I've had 3 kids be sophomores already. It's like, Dad, if you say that again, Dad, I'm leaving. More questions on this sort of, it's a broad topic, of course.
Comment, so, kid who doesn't like the teacher, related to the teacher.
Yes.
You know, and I think,
Go
I'm
figure.
sure for everyone in this room, there's at least one teacher that our kids don't like. I'm curious about like what you say to your kid about that. I mean, I know what I say to mine, but.
Well, from my dean's perspective,
Yeah.
are you talking about me as a parent or as a dean?
Either.
Well, the dean thing is this. The dean thing is like, you may well not. Nonetheless, you want to do well. So let's analyze what's wrong here. You know, does the teacher demonstrate frustration with you? What are you doing to frustrate him or her? That's what I do. You know, are you not doing well on quizzes? Have you gone to work one-on-one with that teacher? Why not? Usually it's the reason that I mentioned, like I'm sort of intimidated by like the one-on-one-ness of it. And that's all through college, they're going to be more successful by being willing to work one-on-one when the teachers here are so, you should come and see me, you should come and see me, to the point of finally we mandate you go and see, you know, so-and-so, okay? And then what happens in my belief is once the sort of friction, the mutual annoyance thing can ramp down a bit, you stop doing that, the teacher's going to stop reacting that way. Are you late every day? Well, yeah, well, what do you expect? Okay? When you isolate the elements that are like bringing out the worst in both people, just like in every interaction, it's like, let's put that away, let's not do that anymore, let's like be our best person, and the teacher magically, and they're not, then the administrator or guidance counselor drops in the ear of the teacher that Fred's not feeling totally comfortable, is there any way you can do a little outreach? And the teacher does a magical sort of thing, like, you're doing very well on this particular assignment, great job, keep it up. And then you get, you have fuel for like the next 6 months. So that's what we do here. What you do at home, I think that's the same conversation actually.
No, that's helpful, thank you.
And so I've been talking longer than I imagined, but I thought you'd have more questions. So let me go on to the more nuts and bolts, and then a question first.
You talked about pushing off the conversation of college. It's understandable, but how and when is that approached?
I think it's the how of it more than the when, because the how of it, and the number of kids you have and your own experiences of university play into this so much. If I were talking to parents, frankly, I'd say try to take your own experiential reaction to university and expectations that you apply to yourself and the degree to which you achieve those or not, and all your feelings about it, and throw them in a box and throw them out the window. Because your kid is not you, and everything you hope for him or her and them can't really be on the table. Because then your kid's mentality is all about, my parents think this, my parents think that, they're disappointed, they're angry, they're this, they're that. And even when the expectations are extremely unspoken, at my house, my wife works in a school, my older kid's going to medical school, and it's right on the table for my youngest, and he feels like crap because he doesn't know where he's going to go, but doesn't feel for some reason that he can measure up to his 3 older brothers. And so that's but you're loaded, and the siblings are loaded, so it's really about how can you talk productively about going through the process and have it be your own child's something that he or she owns. Okay, so it's way too early to talk about big school, small school, here, there, it's way too early. They don't know themselves. All they have is like stuff that they've received from exterior stimuli. Michigan basketball games with thousands of people. Okay, maybe, yes, but that's all that they know now. That's all they're going to know for the whole next year. And so how to say that you're a really smart kid, and no doubt you want to continue your education, or I hope you're going to want to continue your education, and we, the parents, are going to help you achieve whatever that goal ends up being, which is so broad that a lot of parents would struggle with anything that's sort of loosey-goosey. And I would posit that that's because of our own baggage that we bring to the table. The number of times I talk about Colby College where I happen to go, and where 2 of my kids have now gone, it's like, okay, what's anybody going to think at my house except that I should go to Colby College, right? It's like impossible to avoid, and so I just caution that you be as thoughtful and sensitive to your young person as possible, because they are totally reacting to this probably already, certainly if you have older siblings. So I appreciate the question very much, and we could talk about that as much as any of you want, because I've been down the road and I didn't always do it right either. Let me talk about the future here. My future, the building's future, your kid's future. So they're hiring another dean to replace me. They're finishing on Monday the first round of interviews. There are some wonderful candidates, and of course I can't say who they are. Plus, of course, in public schools, as you may or may not know, I'm not at all involved. That's fine. That's fine. We're not looking for a clone. It might be odd in the real world out there, I don't know, the public schools, it's like, when you're leaving, thank you very much, we'll take care of this. Like, okay. So they'll proceed to a second round, and then it'll be in June, of course, and then Memorial Day, okay? And some point down the line, they will offer the job to somebody out there who will take my office, which is either too hot or too cold, but they don't know that yet. The part that you don't know is that, additionally, the budget is permitting, thanks to your override, which passed by way bigger percentages than I thought. I was a little bit of a cynic about this. I thought, yes, building, no operational, just to sort of, I did that once in Needham. It's like, they're asking too much, live on what you got. But, you guys didn't do that, so thank you very much. The budget's permitting that we add an associate dean to the dean's team upstairs. So there will be the new dean, there will be 2 associate deans, and a third associate dean as well, who'll be, as the other associate deans are, .8 as an administrator, and then teaching one class. So, as I'm implying, without giving you any real information, it's a very moving, a lot of moving parts here. I have no idea how it's going to settle out. What I do know is this. My job is like impossible for a lot of reasons, as many of you perceived. I have 500 kids, and I teach a class, which is, you just can't do it. Yeah, right, you just can't do it. So the new person in my job will not be teaching a class, and because of the arrival of the new associate dean, that caseload for the dean will shrink to 375, call it, which is at least way more doable.
So now you're offline.
Pardon me?
Now you're offline, not
I'm going to tell you about myself again. And so that's, I think, a good thing. How it plays out and which administrator your kid's assigned to is not clear. If they weren't adding the new .8 associate dean, there wouldn't be the inevitable movement of certain homerooms to the new person. It would just be like flipping my kids that I have now to the new person. But that's not what's going to happen. So there will be some movements of homerooms, not individuals, but homeroom chunks of 25 to the new person. And he or she, no doubt, will do a great job. And no doubt, new person, if they're from inside, they'll know all the operational stuff and they'll be able to pick up as soon as possible on what your kids need. If it's an outside person, good luck to them. They'll learn eventually. Okay? It'll just be what it is. If I were you, I'd be saying to myself, out of the 500 freshmen, there's only a percentage whom I've spent much time with. Which is good. If your kid's never been in my office, that could be a great thing, right? Usually, if I have kids for 4 years, I get to know everybody in one context or another, and eventually all the names and all the everything about them, I try to know. This will not be the same kind of relationship that I achieved over 4 years with previous classes, by definition, right? So, the juniors to whom I had to say I'm leaving, they were all about with 1 year to go, you leave us? It's like, you know why public school teachers ever retire? Not because they tire of the children of the parents, of course. It's because in a public retirement system, when the number of years you've in service intersects with a certain age, you maximize your pension. And if you start staying beyond that maximal point, your pension starts to shrink, because one of the factors in the equation shrinks. So if I were to stay 1 more year, let alone 3, I would be effectively choosing to shrink my pension, which is not a decision not a rational decision. And so that is what impelled me to make my decision. And I would have loved to know your kids even better and better and better, and you guys as well. You're very faithful attenders, and only your faces are familiar unless I knew your older siblings, your older kids. And so when someone leaves, I will feel the loss of the connection with all your people tremendously. They're 15, they'll get over it fast. But those with whom I worked a lot, it's like I tried to bring them as far as I could down that path of maturational development. And they're going to mature by themselves, of course, and a new person will do his or her best to get to know them all in his or her own way. Because my style is mine. Nobody else like me is going to be around here. So I will tell you that in my particular situation, because I want to continue to work, because at the advanced age of 64, I have more in me. Yes? Yes. My birthday is on June 4th, so it's like, okay. And I'm turning 64, not 65. I'm going to work at a private school because that permits me to access my retirement pension as well as a salary. So I'm going to be working, only teaching, no more administration, at the River School out in Weston that you may know, which is 500 kids, not 2,000, a 12-minute drive from my house, and, as they proclaim in their own list of benefits, free lunch.
There is a such thing.
There is. Apparently this is a private school thing in a general sense, and it looks like a banquet. I was out there to visit. So instead of my little human cheese sandwich eating while I'm talking, it's like, oh, sit down and eat. So that's what I will be doing, which is good for me, and good for my family. In terms of the building, without my knowing all the plans, I believe that if not next year, where your kids may dodge the bullet of the deconstruction of this. If you look behind you, the wing right behind us, which is the cooking classrooms, and right there, the old Roberts House door, for those of you who went to school here, is coming down. And there's some thinking that that should be demolished first before anything starts down at the other building, because I think they expect trouble with the T, in a broad sense. The new building. So it's potentially, rather than the lovely idea of having the whole thing happen down the street away from us, okay, and having us just continue here, that may not come to pass. It may come to pass that, before you even know it, they're busy deconstructing everything from the auditorium to the left for rebuilding and putting the science classrooms there. And so I only hope, because I've been through several renovations here, moved around as construction followed me, and the banging and the what do you call this?
Jackhammering.
Yeah, jackhammering. It's tough. Kids still learn. It's tough to live through, but kids still learn. You might have been through that yourself as a kid. But this is the only thing that I happen to know about. And then the new building will go up, your kids will be gone, I bet. They might be seniors, but they won't be down there. The freshmen will be mainly down there. So you'll see it go up, you'll see this come down, but I think this may be happening first. So hard hats on. It'll be well managed. Yeah.
I have a question about that.
Good, we have 5 minutes. Wow.
Will they be using Old Lincoln for the high school at all?
I'm going to pretend I don't know anything definitive, so anything I say is not definitive, right?
Right.
There's talk about using portables to make it big enough to accommodate the ninth graders at some point. I don't know when they're talking about, though.
Making Old Lincoln big enough with portables?
Yeah, it's only accommodates 450.
Got it.
Putting portables to the left side of the building to accommodate 600 is a potential plan. On how that helps them out, I'm not really sure, but I've heard that. So the plans seem to be not unlike other construction projects in flux. So, more questions? I've got a little wrap-up thing for you, but more questions I can answer? Really no more questions? Come on now. So let me wrap up like this then. I've been here for 34 years. Some of you aren't 34 years old. Congratulations. So I would just say, and I've been teaching for 42, and that certainly is older than some of you. So back in 1976, I started teaching French in Augusta, Maine. If you know Augusta at all, an old, decrepit mill town, and it was like, oh my God, this is, I gotta survive this. And I did. Then I went and I taught for 7 years in Hanover, New Hampshire at the middle school, and that was like nirvana. It was like nirvana, beautiful, quiet, calm. And middle schoolers are great. Maybe you don't have any more, maybe you do. In school, they're loving, open, and sweet children, in grades 6, 7, and 8. I know what they're like at home, but like in school, it was great to teach them. And then 34 years here. And I thought to myself as I was driving in, is the place different? Because I get asked that all the time. Kids come back, alumni, they say, it's so different. It's like, no, it's not different. It feels different because you haven't been here for a year and a half. The reality is, the education you're choosing for your children is such a special, unique, liberal, progressive, yes, but special and unique for them, okay, that when they walk away at the end of 4 years, I'm convinced, or I would not have been here so long, that they will take away a deep-seated belief that they were educated at the highest level that we could push them and draw them. Which is to say, despite all the complications of a huge school, we endeavor to know them all as well as they will let us, and to push them to the top of their academic potential is what I meant, so that so many kids return from college and say, I was so prepared, I was so prepared, I was so prepared. But they also, and this is attested to by the number of people who were students here, including the custodian who graduated in '88, who just called me Scotty, and I was like, I don't even know his name. It was like, it's still here 30 years later or whatever. It's like, what it means is you're living in a community, which but a school that is so special, intentionally special, that we want each of your kids to feel it way down deep. I believe we accomplished this. It's not totally unanimous, but that has been my goal here all these years. All the thousands of kids I've taught, they've all been a pleasure in their different ways. So let me thank you for letting me work with your kids. It's been a great ride. And who knows when I'll see you next. Thank you.